I couldn't love myself either. You will come to find in your life that the only difficulty that you experience is when you refuse to love yourself, which means understanding who you are and coming to embrace your authentic self. Now, I will say it's always a journey because we don't know that when we come into the world. But then when we start to see it, when we start to understand it, and if we don't start to move to that place of greater self-acceptance, then our lives are in turmoil. And I know that because I've done it so much. And I had a channeling session on last Sunday, and it's called All You Had to Do Was to Love Yourself. And see, I know that that is true for every single person. And if more people did that, they would live the lives they're supposed to have. And also, we would have a very different world. And I knew that as well. Um, Yesterday, I posted something on social media. I just said Black women because I had a message that I received in 2020 talking about the changes that we would all be moving through in our lives and also in the world. And I had that information. But that would mean that I'd have to really embrace myself and love myself to be able to tell you what that was. See, I knew that I had created something that could give any person the ability to love themselves and could change our world. And I know that that's true because it's done it in my life. So why wouldn't it be true for someone else? But having you believe that or telling you that was me moving through my resistance of loving myself, understanding who I came to the world to be, because I know that every person comes to the world to to prosper, to thrive, to have this great life. But we also have trauma. We have generational beliefs that we can't move beyond. And I was given the information to help us all move beyond those generational beliefs so that we could live great lives and have a wonderful world. But to tell you that was really challenging because I couldn't love myself. I always judged myself for, why do I have this information? Why did I go through everything that I did in my life and why could I heal? Because I was given this information. But then to tell others, I had to come to love myself, and that was the challenge. I've talked about it so much. I've done so many videos. I put something up last week, several videos just talking about that process because we're all the same. There's no difference in any human other than what we do in our consciousness, other than what we decide to think and believe about ourselves. But then again, we move through generational changes. And this is a huge one that we're all moving through. And I knew that. And so what I was meant to do was to step up and love myself so that I could help others do the same thing. But moving through the continual self-doubt and judgment that I've had was challenging, which has probably been for you. And I can say that because if more of us were to really come into acceptance, self-acceptance, we would love ourselves. We wouldn't have any kind of anger. We wouldn't have hatred. We wouldn't have any of those other lower vibrational energies happening in our lives or in our world. And then we understand that if we do that, if we change it in our lives, then it happens in the world. But I couldn't really do that because it was what I did was so unbelievable. And probably what you have is unbelievable as well because no one's done it yet. We come into the world to bring something new, everyone. But because it is new and it's coming through us, because it's just our individual, unique path that we're meant to follow. And because of that, we may have trouble accepting it, which is why we don't come to love ourselves. But I'm going to read you a message that came through on this date 4 years ago. And because I woke up a little angry, and now I understand why. You might be feeling that too, because the energies are changing in our world. And I knew all of that, and I knew the difficulties we might start experiencing. And I kind of know what the energies might be out in our world today, especially in the United States. And I can tell you that that was the information that I was given, but because I couldn't really come to love myself, it was hard to tell it to everyone else. But if you listen to that channeling session, you will get so much more and all the other videos that I placed as well. But this message will bring more to light, and I'm making a change, and I'm going to start to love myself a lot more, and I'm taking this work to many more people because that's been really my problem. So let me share this with you, and I know that you will get so much out of it. You will no longer be angry when you finally start doing your job. It took Roger a while to settle on a title, as we wanted one that would speak to many. We will, of course, use Roger as an example, but he is only that, and each of you is to find your truth within our words. Yesterday morning, Roger held a group training, and the topic was to discuss what one might do next in their lives. It was one of the most fulfilling Roger had experienced, as well as the attendees, because Roger has had to answer that question and find his new direction so many times in his life. He knew he could be of benefit to others. We must say this is not a new discovery for him, but one he is only recently willing to embrace. Many of you are doing the same now, and that is not accidental, and neither is the fact that it is occurring during your pandemic. Don't worry, this will all make sense. When Roger came to his computer this morning, he saw an email that he has yet to view, but Roger knew it contained his associate's work. It signaled to Roger that he was finally doing his job, for his encouragement of what he recognized within his associate was now becoming manifest. During the group session yesterday, we had Roger say to them all, I can see your potential. Roger has known he possessed that ability, but only began to own it. But he still doubts at times, just as you have done. Then last night, his roommate told a story about an incident that occurred with his acting coach. At first, Roger let the story pass, but while in his bedroom, we told Roger to do his job and talk to his roommate and point out his resistance. You see, Roger has always seen his roommate's potential as well, but he wasn't doing his job entirely if he was unwilling to speak up. This morning, we led Roger to a video that he knows for sure he has heard, but it was published again today, and today it made sense to him. We did that because even though we have delivered that information to him for decades, it was easier for him to hear it from another source. You each need to have your instincts nurtured because you doubt them so much. We use the word nurtured because it brings up your maternal nature, which is the feminine energy we have spoken of recently. When each of you does your job, you will embrace more of yourself, which is both masculine and feminine energy. And the balance you and the world have been seeking will be manifest. Not being angry is a good indication you are doing your job. We all exist in our consciousness, and consciousness is collective and it changes over time. And there are some of us who come in to understand that. I was given this information to bring into the world now. And if I were doing my job, we would have a very different world. More people would be loving themselves. More people would be having a great time, and we would up level the energy of our world to a place where we couldn't imagine. I've spent years, 35 years receiving all of this work, and I haven't given it to anyone. I have not done that because even what you're seeing in the work now, the results, people said their lives were changed and they had all these results and they've never done anything like that. They only had a portion of what I've received. Because see, everything I received caused all these things to happen within me, all the mind, body healing, all the emotional, mental, all the spiritual, all that stuff, the ascension, everything was in the work that I'd received all of these years. But because it came through in the way that it did, and it's so synchronistic, that's why I talk about Carl Jung so much, because we start to understand. And that's what I've received. Every time we have a change in our planet, a moon change or new moon or full moon or whatever, I do a session because I know I have more information, but it was already given to me. We have alignment in the universe, every single soul. All we have to do is decide that we're going to find ours alignment. That's doing our job, meaning coming to love yourself. And what my job was is to give this to more people. Several years ago, when I first started talking about this, it was really challenging for people to understand. And I was meeting with marketers, and they kept telling me, Roger, you should be charging $5,000 for this and to be competitive with everyone else. I couldn't do that. I said, I'm not doing it. Well, but they were probably right because then people don't understand the value of what I have had. I said, wait a minute, I have something that could give any person the ability to have live a wonderful life and change everything and move through all their generational trauma and move through their ascension symptoms much more easily. And I have all of that, and I'm not doing what I could do with it. That's because I couldn't love myself. And it'll be the same for you if you're having any difficulty. And I'm saying that because what I did is just kept going, not owning. Abundance and having everything you want is about self-acceptance. And so that's what I have to do now because I also understand that we're going to move through more dynamic changes energetically in our world, and especially in my country, but everywhere, if we don't do our job and start to love ourselves and take the next step in our evolutionary journey. And that's what I'm going to do in mine, which is to help more people do that. I invite you to join, but what's happening now is that I'm really having to focus because I haven't done that, being completely honest. I've talked about it so much because what I have changes your life. I cannot convince you of that because that's the other thing that happens. We don't believe certain things are possible. I didn't believe it was possible that I was receiving information this way, and it was so in line and synchronicity to every change that was happening in the world. But you can go back and look at all of that and you'll find out for yourself. So your question will be, will you start to do what is within you to start loving yourself and do making a contribution, living a great life? That's what we're all meant to do. I just have a plan for you to do it. So please share this with others. As I said, I'm cutting off the enrollment, so that's why I'm talking about this now, because I have something that is so incredibly valuable. This is why I put out those other videos. I knew 2 years ago, I said I could have become a billionaire and transformed the world because I knew that this could happen. And so you just have to look and see for yourself what you're going to do. The only problems we have in our lives when we don't take the next step, and I'm going to take the next step, and I hope you do as well. You have nothing more important to do in your life than to love who you are and embody your authentic self. See you soon.